What's the crack, everyone? It's Ollie from B2B Sports here. Let's talk that Las Vegas Grand Prix, shall we? The weekend didn't get off to the best of starts. In practice 1, 10 minutes into the session, Carlos Sainz hit a drain cover, and also Ocon hit another drain cover as well, which completely red flagged the first session. It's just baffling to me that they've spent all this money on this Las Vegas Grand Prix, and yet this wasn't an issue. This wasn't picked up before. Obviously, with the ground effect cars, the forces are pulling the car down onto the surface, onto the floor, and it also almost creates like a suction. So as the cars went over these drain covers, it instantly pulled the cover up. It severely damaged the underneath and the back end of the car. And the Ferrari especially had to take a penalty to replace components that were damaged, in this incident, which seems incredibly unfair. I think Carlos Sainz, to be fair, in particular, has been on the bad side of a couple FIA penalty decisions this season. So, that was that. And then there was the fact that practice 2 was delayed. They had a 90-minute session in practice 2 that went past the allocated sort of watershed time allocation, if you will, which then no fans could be in the grandstands to watch practice. So essentially you had fans that would have paid a lot of money, especially in Vegas, for day one tickets to watch both practice sessions, essentially couldn't attend either. It's incredibly frustrating. I can't even imagine how gutted you would be if you'd paid all that money. I think there was some sort of refund. From what I'm hearing on socials, it was to do with getting money to spend at the F1 store, which that should be a full refund if I'm not mistaken. The weekend did start to turn around from this point, as qualifying was relatively exciting. The track was very slippy, which created great entertainment for fans and neutrals. The drivers seemed to enjoy it as well. Charles Leclerc got pole position for Ferrari. The Ferraris looked good all weekend, to be honest. It's nice to see a team competing for fighting for poles. That's not always Red Bull. Their car has been so dominant this year. And we move into the race. The race. I actually thoroughly enjoyed the race. There was so much overtaking. Looking at the track beforehand, that long straight seemed a little bit, monotonous, a little bit boring. It was the main point of action during the race. Cars could come from close to a second back within the DRS zone and then dive into that corner and take the lead. It was thoroughly enjoyable, and alongside the tricky conditions and the graining on the tyres, it made for a great race. I think all the drivers afterwards said it was really entertaining. You had the battle between the top 3, Charles Leclerc and both Red Bulls. We had the fight between Leclerc and Perez. Charles locked up, nearly went into the barrier. Now Perez to go through. He was able to make that time up and catch Perez on the last lap. You have to feel for Perez this year. You'd expect to see Red Bull get that one too. And because he's been overshadowed continuously by Max this year, you just think it's another one of those moments where, he should have held on to that second place. Lewis Hamilton, after a bit of a incident on the first lap, was able to claw his way up through the field to gain 7th place, I think it was in the end. George Russell also did really well, but that penalty ultimately cost him. From 4th place, he dropped all the way back to 8th. Gasly had a great showing as well on Sunday. But just I wanted to talk about Las Vegas in general and what I thought on the race. And the Sphere was incredible. I can't even imagine what it would feel like to come around that corner, which is almost unsighted, and then you see the bright lights of the Sphere right in front of you. It just must be fascinating from a driver's point of view. I've seen on socials that I thought that the colours red, yellow and blue were banned from the Sphere, but at one point it was showing the Chrome logo, so I don't think that was quite accurate. But the Vegas Strip, the lights, it had the glitz and the glamour. It looked like a pretty epic, cool race. In terms of grandstand, I don't think there was many seats. With a street track, you aren't going to get the same amount of spectators that you do in, say, Silverstone or another open track. In terms of the race, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Max Verstappen had some comments all weekend, really. 99% show, 1% race. But at the end, he seemed to enjoy it and was singing Elvis on the team radio. So maybe the race changed his opinion on that. There was also that weird moment where at the end of the race there was no cool down room, but it was a cool down Rolls Royce, was it? And they got taken to the Bellagio to have their post-race interviews, they were made to stand there and awkwardly watch the fountain display before getting back in the car and being taken back to the pits again. I think they might rework that next year because it was a little bit awkward. Obviously, the classic Martin Brundle grid walk, which was incredibly hectic. You know, a highlight for me was when he was trying to get an interview with Shaquille O'Neal, who was being walked around by a Mercedes engineer having a look at their car. And when Martin said, have you got any thoughts on the race, he literally just went Lewis Hamilton, which summed up celebrities at F1 events, really, doesn't it? But it was good to have a bit of a chuckle at anyway. But on the whole, I enjoyed the Las Vegas Grand Prix. It surprised me in the qualifying in the race sort of aspect. There were a few teething issues which should have been ironed out before the race. But ultimately, I think fans and drivers enjoyed the race. And if you ask me, I much prefer Las Vegas over a Miami Grand Prix. But yeah, let us know your thoughts down below. Did Vegas get the green light from you? I think he's got a 10-year deal to stay on the calendar. So whether you like it or not, I think it's staying. And yeah, we roll on to the final race of the season next week. Abu Dhabi Grand Prix to close out the 2023 F1 season. Cheers for watching and listening, everyone, and peace out.